don't try and compete with the technology further down, because you can't, and make sure you do move up the top, because that's going to make the difference between success and failure. Everything else you should be able to automate over time. And don't forget, AI today is the worst it's ever going to be. Welcome to the Implement AI podcast, the podcast where we explore the impact of AI on your business. I'm Piers Linney, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Aalok Shukla. We cover the real-world applications and impact of how AI can be practically applied to drive growth and efficiency in your organization. We cut through the jargon to focus on actionable strategies and use cases to highlight the transformational power of AI. Let's dive into today's conversation. I'm Piers Linney.
I'm Aalok.
You had a greatest hits episode, the last pod. As you can imagine, if you had a month without seeing our pretty faces, a lot would have happened. A lot has happened. So this is going to be I think it's going to be another great podcast. I hate to blow our own trumpet, but I think it just gets better over time. And we're also been talking to the team, and we're going to organise some more guests as well. Maybe some sort of special guests, people we don't know, people but we have an opinion or something to bring to the pod. But we've been doing quite a few events. So we've had AIOS Fest, which if you don't know AIOS Fest, it's like the Glastonbury of business. So if you haven't heard of it or didn't get there, have a look for next year. Tickets are already on sale, actually. So that was really good. It was like in a field. We managed to hold off the rain, and we took our new recruit. If you're not following Destiny Robot on LinkedIn, why not? Because she's at all these events and you're not. So she was at AIOS Fest in Running Rampage. And then we took her to a slightly more calm event, which was our Your Future Digital Workforce event. And we did it in Manchester. Again, thank you to Squire Patton Boggs, our lawyers, for the use of their lovely offices in Manchester. We've also done it in London. That was a good event, wasn't it? We had full capacity?
Yeah. But even like AIOS Fest, we had 8 presentations in 2 days, right?
I've still got PTSD.
I'm on the side.
It was like, I didn't see you there. I was like, yeah, because we're stuck in a tent doing AI presentations, but it was good.
7 times 40 minutes one. And I've never had before where I'm on the main stage at an event and I have to walk off stage to go and do another presentation, basically, which I did.
Yeah, leaving me.
I was like, I'll leave you to it with those minutes.
Yeah, see you a lot.
But that was a fantastic event from AIOS Fest, and also our own event, our Future Digital Workforce in Manchester. Brilliant turnout, amazing venue, and I think one of my highlights was Destiny the robot. Like the people from the floor below could hear the footsteps basically, and they came upstairs and they were like, what is that basically?
Well, what I find interesting about that is, and it's the easy thing to miss, right? Is that if you think about what like Elon Musk says, if you listen to what Elon Musk says, but Elon Musk said, there'll be as many humanoid robots as cars in not too distant future. And that's probably the first time hundreds of people, if not thousands actually, have seen a humanoid robot.
Exactly, the billboard. When our billboards got announced, and we had Destiny with us, and there were vans stopping, like and saying, what is that? And like looking at the robot. And then my favorite was this woman with a baby came, and she was like, can the baby have a photo with the robot, basically, right? And the closest I would put it is like, it's like an alien has landed. I really felt like where we were in Salford, it was like an alien landing has occurred in Salford next to this billboard. There's a robot on the ground, and now everyone's stopping to kind of see what's going on.
It'd be like seeing in, I don't know what the date would be, 1800s, your first car.
Or spaceman.
First aeroplane. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to be, a moment I think people are going to look back on and think, oh, right, okay, that's the first time I saw one of those. Anyway, let's crack on. So the other big news is we've closed our seed round. Then got some great investors. It's been led by Nigel Wray. Nigel Wray, who's a very sort of well-known investor, entrepreneur, involved in Domino's, of all that building of Domino's. He was a major owner, chairman of Saracens as well, which he's still a big shareholder in. Which is quite interesting because my daughter's at the Saracens Academy. So there's no connection there, just completely random. So it's great to have Nigel on board, and we've got lots of other investors, people we know, some people we don't know. So we're now sort of fully funded to really go at it quite hard, which is what we're doing basically. So Aalok's been really busy churning out some new working on it, white papers based on our events and various other things we've been doing as well. So look out for a lot of new content that's going to be coming out. And also follow us and follow Destiny. Right, let's get into the pod. We've got quite a few three quite big sections actually. So a lot of the content we've been doing, we're kind of distilling things down. Just want to flex my mug. If you want one of these, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm flexing a AI team supervised implement AI mug. And to get one, you either come to an event or become a customer, and it's worth it. And another thing we're showing off on the YouTube is our implement AI shoes. Big shout out to Simon Squibb and Daisy Custom Shoes. I'm going to give her a plug. If you want custom shoes, hand painted, they're beautiful. Although I gave her some advice to double her price. And then when I ordered the shoes, she doubled her price. So careful what you wish for. Amazing. So we're going to talk about what we call the 3-pillar impact framework, really. So we talk about the impact of digital workers. And there are 3 dimensions, as Aalok says. One is revenue, capacity, and experience. We're going to go through that. But then going to sort of like go through our AIOS, what it is, what it does, and how that kind of overlays onto it in terms of delivering those 3 important added factors to your business. And then something Alok's been working on actually is the ABCDE. I'm not going to ruin the surprise what they all mean, but it's a development framework. But essentially, and we use this kind of start small, think big. And how do you go from kind of a basic digital worker to something extremely advanced? So there's a lot to go through. So let's crack on. So we're going to start with number 1, the 3-pillar impact framework. So this is, Aalok, you've been doing this a lot in your decks, actually, and all the presentations at Ideas Press and our presentation in Manchester. So it's really about and a quote you use is, most businesses don't fail because they lack opportunities. They fail increasingly because they just miss them. You're leaving value and money and margin and happy customers on the table where you no longer need to. And what our digital workforces really do, if you boil it all down, there are 3 dimensions, 3 vectors, whatever you want to call them. Revenue acceleration, capacity multiplication or more capacity, and transforming the experience of your customers, your prospects, and even the customers that need reactivating or some TLC.
Exactly. So touching on one of the past episodes that we had was where that like 95% of, AI initiatives failed. It's because they weren't attached to a proper business case. And like Piers said, like there's kind of 3 main things that people say, okay, digital workforce sounds good, but what would I get them to do? Like where should I get them to actually work? And then there's the 3 things that Piers just talked about: revenue acceleration, so capturing every sales opportunity through instant response and systematic follow-up. We'll come to that. Capacity multiplication, essentially scaling operations for support or for customer success. Like I had a call just now with an e-commerce company, and they were talking about like, hey, they're doing really well, they're growing, it's for car parts, but then they want to add, more support capacity, but it's all email or WhatsApp. Do I really need to hire somebody else, basically, right? Can I use AIs that will help with those things? And the third thing is experience transformation. Like this is like, how can you deliver personalized service at scale? So if you think about it, if all your customers go through the same generic journey and then the same generic communication, you're missing opportunities for the 20% of customers that would buy more and kind of go from there. And with this kind of approach, you almost want to take a step back. You see, in your business, you're used to certain constraints. You operate 9 to 5. You don't have cover on a weekend. You think it's normal for somebody to like opt in at 7 p.m. Friday and then they don't get called until 11 a.m. Monday or whatever like this. There's all sorts of normal service level agreements, normal ways of doing things which are kind of within there. And what you want to think about is like almost going a step back and say, well, if we could do anything, what would that look like, basically? And this is where having different agents which can do different things can help you. So let's look at revenue acceleration strategies. Okay, so starting with like revenue, for example, to grow it, one of the things that you might think about is instant response. So imagine at Friday at 7 p.m, someone fills out your website inquiry, but like you don't get hold of them till Monday. So one of the key things would be an agent, which is just taking that initial web form, and then it's able to then call them straight away, conduct a full needs assessment, qualify budget, authority, timeline, potentially send a personalized proposal and some case study information, and potentially schedule a follow-up meeting for Monday morning, and send a comprehensive documentation or briefing for your team. So that's an example of like one example for revenue, right? Another one would be dormant database. So inactive customers or inactive, people that inquired but never got through it, doing the occasional email blast, the occasional SMS big blast. It's very impersonal and you're not going to get much response from that. Versus if you actually thought about having a research agent plugged in with the, with the reactivation agent, it could then look a bit more information about the company or the person and then contact each person personally, by, phone call or by email and identify, I know about some expansion signals, like you mentioned, new location, or you've just announced new funding growth or whatever like that. And then be able to like understand, like reintroduce your company, find out about them, and then, like just help take that next seed.
It's quite interesting. I'm getting a few of those contacts because of our funding round, and they're rubbish. They're either generic, wrong, or just badly written, and there's no need for that.
Exactly. And so it's just like having those kind of like opportunities, like at least you can kind of like do something within that area. So again, so that's like the dormant kind of people that you're going to reach out to and like be a better personalization. Then you've got missed opportunity recovery. This is a big one. So if you've got like your team's members are having meetings with customers, or they're having phone calls with customers, then you could have an analyst agent, which is reviewing all of those and spotting for missed revenue opportunities, such as like a high value service was discussed and a follow-up point was not scheduled, or they mentioned a budget and then they mentioned a person, but no proposal was mentioned or anything like that, or competitor comparison was mentioned, but there was no objection or handling or anything like that, or timeline discussion might be like, look, contact me in November, we're going to be looking at this in this sort of way, but there's no calendar coordination.
It's amazing, isn't it? We've done quite a few of these. How much money literally is left on the table? It's like hundreds of thousands in not particularly big businesses.
No, like ranging from healthcare clinics where they've got, high value patients with people that are not inquired, to B2B projects which just didn't go ahead at that period of time, all sorts of things, or people said, contact me in 4 months, and just they never get round to that, right? So the missed opportunity recovery agent as part of the revenue acceleration team, for call analysis, but also email analysis, like going through 1 year's worth of past emails and spotting missed opportunities from within there, which can then go to the reactivation agent to reactivate and engage with those ones, basically, right? So they're examples of revenue agents which anybody could benefit from, basically, in those sorts of ways. Then you look at capacity multiplication, right? So the point there is like, how can I actually expand my customer support, customer service, or customer success capacity? And what you want to think about is redeployment of team. So augmenting and not replacing. So for example, like before, like the customer service rep might spend 60% of their time on frequently asked question responses. So for example, how do I log into my system? Or how do I handle this? Or what time are you open? Or what's this like this? Or do you accept these? Or does your system work with that? All of this stuff is within kind of the known FAQ responses, but people are just not going to those ones. So if you have an agent which could handle all of those, then they could actually free up their time and actually spend more time on complex issues, basically, right? So that's something where if you've got the right approach to redeploy and upskill people, you can actually help, get the digital worker to handle most of
we got asked yesterday, didn't we? We were talking to a potential customer, and they were saying, well, how much information from our SOPs and our knowledge base could the agent handle? And we're kind of like, all of it.
Yeah.
Plus the whole Harry Potter series. It's like whatever you want. It's amazing, isn't it?
And it's scoping it correctly so that the agent is like handling the support for a particular area, a particular thing that can work in that way. And then the second area, which is a good category, would be like evening and weekend coverage. This is one of the most popular things that we get, basically, right? Like, so, how can I like have somebody that if they contact after the evening? Like, I had one business I was talking to, and they said, I actually don't know how many times the phone is ringing on the weekend because we're not answering it. Like, so I have no idea how many opportunities we're missing, basically, right? And they've got a prime location in central London, and the rent ain't cheap. And I'm telling you right now, the landlord is charging the rent on a Saturday and Sunday. Even if they're not open.
What I can't understand, right, is I get it before. You had to get an out of hours service, and it costs money, and you had to train there. It's a pain. I've been there, right? I paid for it. But why would you not have this?
I think most people don't know that it's possible. And I think also people don't know like what it can actually do. I think that's the honest answer, basically, right? Like in that kind of regard. So this is a great opportunity to capture leads when competitors are closed, provide support when problems occur, and you can also have it so it could handle questions to a particular degree. And if something is needed, it could either transfer the call to someone or triage it or fill out a web ticket or whatever like that. And also then holiday continuity, like Christmas is coming up, right? So it means that like during Christmas break, you can still have coverage all the time. You're not having any issues, and seasonal scaling in other areas like that. So that's another area where you could kind of be looking at that. Other areas of like capacity expansion would be, researching or looking up company stuff at scale. So imagine you've got lots of customers which have been using your system for different degrees, and maybe some people are using one feature more than something else. You could be like researching those ones to analyze with an analyst agent, and then have a customer success agent contacting them saying, hey, it looks like you're using more than this thing. You'd be benefited from our new plan, or it seems that you've tried to do this. You could benefit from our new solution like this, or if you've introduced a new product or new solution, which could be interesting to them because you've researched the company and they also sell those things or they buy from somewhere else, it could reach out in that way. So having that kind of research tied with a kind of personalized kind of customer success agent, that can be very good, basically, right?
So I'm still waiting patiently for you to create a slide, which is my triangle. It's never happened. You've done thousands of slides, I've never seen my triangle, right? And that's the triangle that's been filled. It's full of human labor, or whatever, physical, cognitive. That's called cognitive, and it's been filled with technology. So your team, your people, you have got to migrate to the top, which is great because that's where you're going to add more value. But don't try and compete with the technology further down because you can't. And make sure you do move up to the top because that's going to make the difference between success and failure. Everything else you should be able to automate over time. And don't forget, AI today is the worst it's ever going to be.
Exactly. And so the next one is then experience, transformation. So the approach to think about here is like Amazon. If you go to the homepage, it's your homepage. It's showing stuff that you've already bought or things you bought in the past or things you could be interested in. So you're going to have a higher likelihood of buying something or starting a new purchase because you've seen that stuff. The same principle applies if you know that this person, I'll use a healthcare example. If someone is like 55 years old and they've got certain healthcare conditions and they're looking for like certain things to like lose weight or do something like this, then they're going to be communicated in a particular way. Whereas a 25-year-old who's traveling a lot, he's not going to care about all those things. He might just care about travel vaccination because he wants to go to Bali, basically, right? So the point there is that like, how can you basically extract information using an analyst agent from customer communications and also about the customer? So at the event I was talking about, I presented 2 different research agents. One was for a financial advisor conference, which basically showed from the name of the person and the company they were director of, any company they're director of, any properties they're associated with, any locations they've been going to, recent social media footprint, key connections they've got, and then going further down, what 20 years into their future is going to look like based on their past career trajectory, what financial products they're potentially going to need, what risk factors they're going to be based on like travel or this, that, all that kind of stuff. So the point is you can have a very, very personalized approach. So imagine you reached out to someone saying, hey, Piers, based on your next 15 years, this is what it's going to look like and this is what you're going to need to think about. You'd be interested in reading that, basically, right? Like if someone's like subject line next 15 years, basically, right? Or something. And same like with the B2B version, we created a B2B version of the prospect agent, which was basically like looking up, a company, any subsidiaries, any like funding signals, any growth signals, any kind of like publications that's happened in the past, any announcements, the key directors, the personality type of the directors, key leadership, what challenges they might have, what opportunities there could be matched against what you've got. So the point I'm trying to make here is that like that kind of personalization, to think of newsletter of one, like how could you just give someone that information in the right way? And then you can then potentially provide much higher volume and much higher value rather products or services. They're going to be more likely to kind of go for something like that.
Especially if you put together 1 and 3, so the revenue acceleration, that immediate sales engagement, and the personalization, which can do very, very quickly, then it completely transforms that experience. And who's going to win that customer? You using that technology, or someone that gets back to them? We've asked in a couple of our sessions, Ideas Fest, in our session, if you get an email or a call or a prospect interested on Friday evening, when do you get back to them? And then, honestly, people are saying Wednesday, the following Wednesday, which is, who's to win that customer? An immediate contact. If you go and talk to Lexi on our website, go to services, AI agents, and request a call from Lexi, she'll send you a summary in a branded WhatsApp, a PDF by WhatsApp, an email within 3 minutes.
Exactly. So I think that having that frame of that revenue capacity and experience, and if you're like thinking about like, okay, well, where would I deploy it? Think about an area which can drive revenue for you, which your team are not doing right now, whether it's reactivation or out of hours, response and stuff like that. And if you think about, how can I help my team with support and stuff like this? Well, how about having an analyst agent helping spot missed opportunities, so then your team can then follow up with those opportunities in that way? That's also a very good place to start, because the analyst agents don't communicate with customers, and they just give your own team the wow effect of like, wow, this is detecting stuff for you. So they're great places to start. So they're the 3 bits, Piers, that we went through, the revenue capacity experience.
So think about those 3 dimensions when you're thinking about AI and how you implement it, where it can make an immediate difference, because it is tangible. We've got lots of examples as well, which we could go into now, but we've probably mentioned before on the pod. Let's go into so they're the dimensions. how does that then overlay? So we've now launched our AI operating system. We call it the AIOS, and we're very proud of it. It's not something we just built in a lab. It's built on insights, talking to people like yourself, listening to watching this podcast, probably hundreds of SMEs, and we've actually got some large enterprise customers now. Talking to them and trying to work out, how do you approach this? What are the issues? What are the blockers you've got? How do you adopt it? What's the process? How do you take your team with you? Where would you start? So where do you start is kind of that 3-pillar framework. And the question then is, well, what do you start with? And that's our digital workers. So let's just quickly, we'll summarize this quickly because you can read all about it in your own leisure. Then we'll go on to the ABCDE network. But let's just run through quickly the AIOS.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the AIOS is essentially your digital workforce in a box, let's call it that, right? And most businesses think about hiring one digital worker at a time. They might think about, an email agent or something else, but you're missing the whole transformative opportunity of a coordinated digital team that shares information and can work together seamlessly, right? Most software requires you to manage different tools. So you've got Zendesk, and you've got Salesforce, and you've got this, and you've got that, basically, right? AIOS, what it does, is it gives you an integrated workforce where sales specialists, support agents, and also, these agents, different ones, operate as unified intelligence networks. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that we've got 3 main parts. We've got agent teams, we've got agentic CRM, which is the memory, and we've got an agentic task engine, which is like 600 connections and different stuff. And the best way I give to people to explain it is think of it as a tower block. So imagine your digital workforce as departments in a modern office building. So, Canary Wharf, or, like the City of London, or wherever it is, you can see these multi-floor, like tower blocks, basically, right?
Increasingly Manchester.
Exactly, increasingly Manchester.
Yeah.
In Lisbon too, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you've got like your sales floor, which is like revenue acceleration. So that's got outbound prospecting specialists, inbound inquiry qualification experts, follow-up sequence coordinators, scheduling appointments, and confirmation agents, like on your sales floor. So you can start with one agent and you can scale that to a department.
I know people miss sometimes what we do is, it's not a single agent, right? It's a team of agents. Now, they might all be sales agents, they might all be in the sales department, they might all be sitting on the sales floor, but they're doing different parts of the sales process depending on how sales should work and also how you want it to work. So it's not an agent singular, it's a team of agents. So hence why my mug, if you can watch on YouTube, says I'm an AI team supervisor. Most companies, the verticals, are selling you one agent and then multiples of the same agent. We can almost create an infinite number of agents do slightly different things.
Exactly. So that's the revenue acceleration, the sales floor. Next floor up, we think about support floor, capacity multiplication. So you can have 24/7 customer service representatives, different ones for different languages. You can have one which is like for FAQ resolution and ticket routing specialists. You can have different ones which are technical support and escalation managers. You can have other ones which are customer satisfaction, follow-up coordinators, and they can all be on different emails, different phone numbers, and they can handle things in different ways in parallel, basically, right? So that's how you expand your support floor with also customer success and stuff like that. Then you can have like your analyst floor, basically, which is like call and email opportunity detection analysts, customer behavior pattern researchers, competitive intelligence gathering specialists, and then performance reporting and insight generators from reporting. So again, that might be a computer use agent logging in, downloading the reports from a different place, and then a different agent summarizing that, putting together. So it's giving you that kind of understanding that like you've got different things which can kind of like happen in different ways. And then you've also got, like your kind of like almost automation floor or work execution one where you've got, computer use specialists that will operate some legacy software, grab different information or update things, or data entry and form completion agents, or you got, more than 600 systems that might be updated, like, I don't know, push the data into HubSpot, also make sure you create a record in this table in Google Sheets, and also send me a Slack notification as this place. So the point here is you can kind of create more, more workflow, more documentation.
You can, if you're, don't think that's it, right? So if your business needs a compliance department or a credit control department, you can set up the agents because they're highly configurable to do exactly that. And at scale, you can have one, you can have a team, and again, they can contact people by email or phone, depending on what you want to do. So you can create departments and floors in your sort of virtual tower block that fit your business, which might be something very different to any other business.
Exactly. And so that's the whole power, right? Because see, once you kind of think about, look, okay, I'm setting up my digital workforce. So that's like a kind of one-off investment, basically, right? But that investment is like almost setting up your kind of like work tower. And then it kind of connects in some of your systems and you're onboarding different things. So then the cost to be able to like deploy more agents, like if you know how to do it, you can actually deploy more agents yourself directly on the platform, or you can obviously get our help to kind of deploy more things within there. But the point I'm trying to make here is that once you kind of set that up, and then you're kind of onboarding more agents, it just expands massively your potential, basically, right? Because our model doesn't charge per agent, basically, right? There's no increase.
It's not a SaaS. It's not per seat per month. It's not even per agent, is it? It's
It's
when
for
the
the work
agents
done.
work. Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
variable cost of this, isn't it?
So our model is basically to always identify an agent which can do revenue, capacity, or experience, which drives a business case, and then work out like how that can either unlock new revenue by doing something that isn't being done, like reactivating customers, or how can it do a task at a lower cost than the person would do it, so that person can be redeployed. They're the two things. Either doing something that isn't being done, like reactivating customers or detecting a new customer that could have been you weren't even aware of and contacted them, and then all that kind of stuff, or spotting a missed opportunity from your data and then contacted them. That's like work that wasn't being done.
Just go through the task engine, also how you have humans in the league, but then we'll go on to the ABCDE.
Yeah, so they're the two bits where it would be working within there, and then like you then want to make sure that like the agents are spin up to do those. Now, the third part we talk about is the task engine. So our task engine has more than 600 integrations, and it can also just execute like code in different ways. So the point is we can spin up different agents to do different things. So for example, email analysis, that's actually done through our task engine, where we would actually connect to an inbox, read all the emails, spot which look like sales opportunities, do additional analysis on those and enrichment, and then get data into a system. That's one example. Other ones could be operating computer use agents. So every Monday at 12 p.m., go and log in here, download these reports and do this in that kind of way. So it's almost like an orchestrator, if you want to think about it in that kind of way. So it can help get more stuff done.
So like mini agents in a way, are they? But they're very specific.
They are mini agents. They're teams of agents. You can basically create teams of agents that can control more agents. It's very, very configurable.
Right, so been quite a lot to sort of soak in there, and while you're doing that, so if you enjoy the podcast, we get lots of good feedback on this podcast. I think we're at number 10 in Apple, the UK management podcast, which is amazing. About 50,000 downloads at the last count, which is fantastic. However, please help us. If you enjoy it, please take a moment to click the link in the description and leave a review on Apple, especially. It really does help. Again, we've got white paper. Go to our resource center on our website, implementai.io. Lots of resources there. We're going to be adding more quite soon as well. Lots of new white papers. Things are moving on. We've now launched AIOS, so there's a lot to learn there, actually. If you want to talk to us, please do so. I often say, talk to Lexi first, because we're not on those companies where it says call for a demo. It's just nonsense. If you don't think our agents should be fronting our business, why the hell would you deploy them in your business, essentially? So that's how we operate, and it gets into our kind of our workflow and our process. Anything else that a lot of people should be doing?
No, I think that's the main thing. Like please do write a review in Apple Podcast.
That's the big one for it, isn't it?
Yeah, really appreciate it.
We've got 3 more events. So we're going to be at the Festival of Entrepreneurs in November, I think it is. Yeah,
October.
It's October, is it? Oh my God, it's come around, yeah. And I'm at the Finance Forum, which is an event to CFOs. If you haven't seen that yet, it's quite a new event from Closer Still. Have a look and sign up for that. We're going to be down there with a stand, and I'm going to be doing a keynote at Finance Forum. So if you're kind of C-suite, CFO, something you should be at. Right, let's move on to the last section then. This is part 3, the ABCDE network
framework. Yeah. So this is the pathway to go from a standard agent to almost like, advanced agents and build that compelling strategic advantage. So let's take a step back, right? So you've got your team. Your team was hired over time. You had to recruit, you had to interview, you had to get people and onboard them. You had to then like go through an onboarding, training, internal development, and they go from there. So if you think about the difference between a junior employee on their first day and a senior team member with years of experience, the junior worker can handle, basic procedures, straightforward tasks, and requires a bit of oversight. The senior can anticipate problems, recognize patterns, and manages complex situations independently, basically, right? So what you have to understand is your digital workforce will follow the same progression, but accelerated far beyond the human learning curve, right? So the point is that just like human employees, digital workers can improve with experience. And that comes from the experience of you working with them and seeing the results that they actually create, and then giving feedback and then helping those be improved, basically, right? So the best way to think about it is having a 2-phase approach when deploying a digital worker. So remember we talked about holes in the bucket of the business. So Friday, 7 p.m., nobody follows and answers the phone, basically, right? And then, no one's reviewing all the phone calls to spot missed opportunities, right? Like there's 2 holes in the bucket, right? What we recommend is that with any digital worker, you want to start with the essential beginning elements, what we call standard agent, which is A and B, and then you want to move to advanced agent, which is CDE afterwards. Let me talk about this framework. So A and B is A stands for access setup, so basic connectivity to necessary systems and doing what needs to be done. B is the basic function, so the core task execution without complexity. So can it speak to a customer and see if they're still interested? Can it access my emails and detect missed opportunities? Can it, schedule an appointment at this time on that thing, basically, right? The basic function,
And
which
it
takes
do
you,
low hanging fruit and support
the
framework.
0 to 1. Like,
Yeah.
can it answer questions and give them the details from the FAQ? Like, can it take those 0 to 1? So you go from a fully leaky hole to basically most of it is sealed. Now, there'll still be some hole in that bucket, right? And that would be covered by CDE. So C is complex integration, so sophisticated system connections and data orchestration. D would be data intelligence, maybe advanced analytics, reporting, insight generation. E would be evolution capability, so continuous learning, optimization, and capability extension. So the point to remember here is like, when you scope your first digital worker, you'll be like, I want to do all of these things, right? But if you're trying to get a human to do it, they would not do those things. We get people come to us with, this is my SOP, and it's like, okay. And they'll say, truthfully, if people don't follow that SOP, it's too complex.
Well, what people see, and I'm sure if you're listening to this or you're interested in AI, you watch this on YouTube, people have these ridiculously complex agentic teams or agentic systems where there's a million different agents doing a million different things, like almost like a whole company, not even the departments, actually, different skill sets. They don't work yet, or always by hyphen yet, but they don't work. You've got to really start small, think big, but start small. And Aalok says, build out the capability over time.
Exactly, because it will fail basically if you don't have it properly bounded and properly scoped in the right way. So what I call a clean use case and a messy use case. Basically, a clean use case is like cleanly defined for like a specific thing, and you know the metric to make that improve. A messy use case is like, I want this and this and this, and if this, then this. Like, it just gets like a mess basically. So this ABCDE. This is your framework for success, right? Because if you know that, like, basically, okay, I'm going to start with a digital worker that's going to be initial deployment, is going to be basically handling beta, following the clear procedures. It requires, some oversight for like exceptions. And so I've got a human in the loop portal. So it'll give me all the answers of what happened to the conversations. Anything which kind of meets these criteria, it will escalate to a person, or it will say, look, I'll talk to my colleague and they'll get back to you. You get very clear control over all those different elements and understanding it.
But also the point there, so it is risk. So if you're worried about AI agents and them going off doing something or being autonomous or just generally in your business, or stakeholders are worried about them, by starting this way with the A access setup and B this basic function, means you're reducing the risk. And also it means that people are going, trust us, people are going to see the power of these things, and the lights are going to start to go on, and they're going to want to start doing more A's and B's and then CDEs.
Exactly. And that's the secret, right? Having 4 agents set up as A and B is going to give you a greater impact in your business than 1 agent going all the way to E necessarily, right? Because also the time it can take to go to CDE, very honestly, most businesses haven't even thought that deeply about these things because they've never gone that far down the rabbit hole, basically, right? Like, they basically have a person that either calls someone or doesn't call someone. And if it happens, they don't know what went wrong, basically, because the person doesn't tell them, right? When you do the agent, you see everything, basically, right? It's like, so that gives you a different...
Go keep the suspense going, Aalok. Explain what CDE is.
Yeah, no, I think I did say, like, so A is access setup, like connects the basic systems it needs, like giving it new logins in different systems. B is the basic function, handling the clear, simple, defined tasks reliably, like handling simple FAQs and stuff like that. C is complex integration, so wiring into CRMs, calendars, marketing tools, legacy systems and stuff like that. Then D is the data intelligence, so it's like going beyond the task to provide like data, insights, reports, pushing information in a particular way. If it meets a certain threshold, doing something else based off that, potentially accessing a different tool.
Research as well.
Exactly. And then E will be evolving its capability. So like where it learns different things from different from interactions, different optimizations, adapting and personalization to different customers. So that might be like, okay, based on these customers being in this customer group of like this purchase level, I'm going to now tag my system with these people in this way. And it's going to now only deal with those people in a particular way. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Start with A's and B's, basically, and then you can start growing each of those over time, in that system, basically.
But also in the AIOS, our platform, we've kind of built, or a nascent version of, the ability to do E, which is like evolution capability and actually learning on the job. So you've got an outcome. Does the outcome match what you wanted it to? Yes. therefore it'll do it again, or no, it'll change. So we haven't deployed it yet because most organizations are ready for it, but it is kind of there.
But when the models get even better, basically, right? So the point here is by having your agents working and going through as many A's and B use cases as possible, you'll start to add more CDE. So that's the difference between a business that doesn't use anything in digital workforce. I always give the analogy, I think give the analogy at the event. Imagine two types of farmer. One farmer's been plowing his fields for ages by himself and doing everything manually with his horses. And the other farmer, tractors just come about. So he starts to learn how to operate a tractor. How do I drive it? How far can I go? How do I steer it? What rate do I need to go over the ground to kind of plow the field at the same time? So the farmer that starts to understand how to plow with a tractor is going to progress way faster than the company, the other farmers. Like, I'm going to wait till version 3 of the tractor, basically, right? By the time of version 3 of the tractor come out, your other farmer has been plowing his field.
Or you pay someone to try and build you some GPS flipping located automated robot, which is never going to quite work at that point.
Exactly. So the point there is that, like, you want to start learning how to do this, and then start with standard agents to prove value quickly, and then graduate to advanced agents over time. So one of the main things our solutions team do with you is that they work to help you understand what's the A and B version of it, so it delivers the business value that you need to, and you can validate it. And essentially what you need to know in your business is, like, what's my cost per task, what's my revenue per contact, and all that kind of stuff, basically. Because, as I said, there's either a lower cost per task versus a human, or it's like uncovering revenue that your team couldn't have done anyway because they've got the bandwidth to do that. And that's your business case, basically. And once you've got that, you can then expand the capability of each of those agents in however you want to.
Right. So I can guarantee all of our listeners and viewers that is the flipping best where we're now. 35 minutes you're going to get on AI in the next 2 weeks. I can tell you that for free. So you've had the 3-pillar framework, so revenue, the capacity, and also the experience transformation. We've gone for the AIOS, and we'll keep doing that as we sort of roll it out, and it improves over time its capabilities. And then this is the new approach, really, this ABCDE framework. And again, we're not inventing these things in vacuums. We're kind of coming up with these ideas because they almost literally reflect the conversations we had, don't they?
They are the conversations.
Well, they are the conversations, exactly. But we try and put them in a way we can sort of, literally write it down and then play it back. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've got some new white papers coming out. Please leave a review. If you're a CFO or C-suite, try and get to Finance Forum. I'm going to be there doing a keynote. We're going to be at the Festival of Entrepreneurs. These are all coming up. There's a huge amount going on. We're very excited. Thank you to our investors again. Thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Implement AI podcast. If you're interested in learning more about how we can assist you and your business in leveraging AI for growth and efficiency, visit our website at implementai.io. Don't forget to subscribe to the Implement AI podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to stay updated on future episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.